Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Lion and Liverbird podcast. Today we'll be talking about the Premier League run-in. So essentially this year the English Premier League has been extremely close. Unlike a lot of the other leagues where you have a runaway leader and a clear leader, the EPL is a three-horse race with Liverpool currently on top of the table, City 1 point behind, and then Arsenal a couple of points behind or 3 points behind with a game in hand. So essentially, it's going to go down to the wire. It's very exciting, and we wanted to take some time and discuss about who might come out on top. With that, Adim, over to you.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode. We're just coming off a crazy weekend of football. We saw Liverpool win via last second Darwin Núñez header. A lot of us, a lot of Liverpool fans thought that was going to end 0-0, but Núñez came up clutch. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
he's the enigma we keep talking
That
about,
was
so it's
a
insane.
beautiful ball also from McAllister, right? Yeah,
Signing of the season,
yeah.
McAllister for 35 million.
Great, great,
I
great.
know we talk about the big money that's spent and all, but this guy has just transformed our midfield.
Yeah.
It didn't start off that well for him, but he's perfect for us, it seems. He can do
I
the
mean,
passes, he can do the
yeah,
tackling, controlling the
yeah,
ball.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he was
He's
being asked to
developing.
play at number 6, though, to begin with, in all fairness to
Correct,
him.
correct.
Yeah.
So again,
Anyways,
this
yeah,
is something from a Klopp team. So there
yeah,
are players who are asked to do certain things that they're
yeah,
not comfortable with.
yep.
One big example is Fabinho. He took time to get into the midfield, and Andy Robertson. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a straight enough left back for us. James
Uh-huh.
Milner was playing that position, and then he came in.
Uh-huh.
But the other thing that we need to talk about is Manchester City and the juggernaut that they are.
Yes, yes,
We're
yes.
just
We'll get to
talking.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're talking after the Manchester City
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
They picked up another win and they're keeping the chase on. And
yeah,
yeah, Arsenal played tomorrow night.
yep,
So yeah, this is going to be crazy.
yep, yep. Okay, let's get into it directly, right? So I think the first thing we wanted to talk about was the overall table and the number of games left for each. So Liverpool currently are on 63 points, 27 matches played. Man City are on 62, 27 matches played, and Arsenal are on 58 with the game in hand tomorrow against Sheffield United, which you expect them to win. So they'll essentially be at 61. So, the total of 2 or 3 points separating the top three, right? And interesting thing I wanted to talk about is what does the run-in look for each of the teams going forward? So I was looking at some stats, and they tell a very clear picture. So they use the particular statistics called points per game, and these points per game pertain to the teams that Liverpool, City, and Arsenal have to face. And Liverpool's opponents have an average points per game of 1.44. Man City is at 1.62 and Arsenal is at 1.46. So basically, Liverpool have the easiest run in, City have the toughest run in, and Arsenal is somewhere in between. So, Adim, let's do a little bit of a deeper dive as to who the teams have to play and the run in aspect.
Yeah. So obviously we'll start with Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing is that stats obviously say that we have a better chance, or at least face the easier opponents on paper. But next week is the big match that I think could decide
Yep.
where the title is heading.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of two matches that could decide it actually. It's Liverpool versus Man City. We are at home,
Mm-hmm.
and City's just been playing crazy good football, but obviously playing in front of the home crowd, Klopp's last season, that's going to be big. The other thing that we're talking about is the number of injuries that are piling up for Liverpool.
So,
Uh,
Adim, sorry to stop you. One quick point there, the fact that you brought up the home and away thing. So, we talked about who's on top of the table. Who do you think is on top of the home table? So essentially, if you only think of the home matches between the three, of course.
I
Just
would
take a
say
guess.
Liverpool.
Yeah,
Liverpool, right?
Liverpool is on top of the home table. Who do you think is on top of the away table?
City.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
essentially, next week's showdown is between the team that's on top of the home table against the team that's on top of the away table, and it's at your home, Liverpool's home versus City. So it's going to be an amazing, amazing game. Yep. Go ahead.
It's going to
Sorry.
be an amazing game. Yeah.
Yep.
So as I was saying, the injuries are the major concern. We're still not sure if Salah will play or not, although
Mm-hmm.
uh, reports say he should be fit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we do have a few players coming back, like Nunes came back,
Yep.
Soboslai came back. So hopefully they get a break. Now the other issue is the number of games that we have to play.
Mhm.
Because this midweek we have to travel to Prague for the Europa League
Yes.
clash. And a lot of fans are just saying that, just play the kids, forget about this leg. We have the home leg a week later, and maybe we can deal with that later. Then you have the FA
I
Cup
think that's
match.
a
So
good
now,
strategy, though. You made a
yeah,
very, I mean, you kind of, yeah, made a really good point there. I think that would be the way to go, right? Especially, I'm assuming you guys are playing on Thursday, right?
yeah, we're playing on Thursday, so
Yeah.
that travel's going to be crazy. And then again, Sunday, a
Yeah.
lot of the fans are saying that, people like Van Dijk, Kelleher, obviously Nunes,
Hmm.
Soboslai, Endo, and McAllister, they shouldn't even be on the plane to Prague.
Yeah,
Just stay at
possibly.
home, don't go anywhere, forget about it. And the kids have been doing well. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
likes of
Yeah.
Clark and Dan's, and
Yep.
obviously the right back, Connor Bradley, he's been doing
Yep.
exceptionally well.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that,
Yep.
but then the fixtures do become really interesting. Now it says on paper that it's easy for us comparatively,
Yeah.
but you look at the teams that we have to play. So after the second leg, the Prague game, where we could possibly continue our Europa League journey and get more fixtures put in,
Yeah.
you have Everton Liverpool. So we play away at Goodison. That's been
Hmm.
postponed because on that week, 17th March, we are away at United for the FA Cup quarterfinal.
Uh-huh.
And in all probability, we'll be playing a full strength side, obviously, because you don't want to lose to United.
Yeah.
After that, we play against Brighton. Now, Brighton gave us a lot of trouble when we faced them in the first part of the season. It was a 2-2 draw. And we were, I think, a little lucky that we escaped with a 2-2 draw because at the end of the game, Brighton were better than us.
Yeah.
Then after that, you're playing Sheffield United at home. So again, that should be a win for us. Then on 7th of April, just 2 or 3 days after the Sheffield United game, we are playing Manchester United away in the Premier
Hmm.
League.
Hmm.
And whatever you say about United, they are always up for a derby, at least initially 10 minutes, or at least in the initial 10 minutes. After that, they just wither away. We'll get to that later.
Oh man.
So they came out with a nil-nil draw against us in the first half of the season. And
Mhm.
if they sit back, then there's a chance they'll do well. Now, after that, the games become easier, at least the next three games for us. We play Crystal Palace at home, so that should be a win. We play Fulham away, that should be a win also. And then we play West Ham away, which is a win. The next two games in the Premier League are a little iffy. So we play Spurs at home on the 4th of May. Now we all know what happened in the first time we met them this season, that goal that wasn't given and the two red cards. And I don't know, that Spurs can be anything. I mean, they could be really good or really bad on their day. The game after that is also interesting. So just a week later, we're playing Villa away. Unai Emery's team is flying, and they could spring a surprise, especially with the likes of Ollie Watkins doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And we finish off the league by playing Wolves at home. Uh, I think we played Wolves also in the season where we missed out by a point. We scored a couple of goals, and that was when Aston Villa were leading Man City 2-0 and they came back to win it. I hope those memories are not repeated. So yeah, the run-in is pretty interesting because we still have to face two or three teams that can actually cause us problems because it's a derby or it's a big rivalry. We face United twice, FA Cup once, obviously. We face Man City, and then we also face Everton. And there's also Spurs and Villa in the mix.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it's not that easy as it seems.
So yeah, of course, of course. I mean, it's not like a cakewalk, but I think overall, I think you guys have the easier teams to face. But the caveat is there are some tricky phases of fixtures. You just talked about March being a little tricky with some away travel in the Europa
Mhm.
League, and the last three games that you have are a little tricky again: Tottenham, Aston Villa, and Wolves, right? And then, moving on to Man City, of course, there they have the toughest run in, so to speak, in terms of their opposition and, where their are placed in the table. Of course, Liverpool, Man City is going to be an amazing game. There's no question about that. But then they also have to face off against the third contender, Arsenal, right?
Mhm.
That's also going to be a very, very
So
interesting
yeah,
game.
so I was talking about the two, three games that will define the season, and that's the
Yeah.
second one. Man City versus Arsenal.
Yes, yes, yes. Man City versus Arsenal. I think that's end of March, right? 31st March. And then an interesting thing about Arsenal this season, I was looking at, the fact that, of course, they have been great, but they've been amazing defensively. So
Yeah.
if you look at the number of goals conceded per game, Arsenal is actually has conceded the least number of goals per game and the least number of goals. So they've been really good defensively, and they seem to have sorted out their attack.
Oh yeah. So the last 3-4 games has been crazy. They're scoring goals for fun. Saka is playing incredibly well. Martinelli is doing well. I think playing without Jesus all the time is working. And I think Kai Havertz is finally doing some of the donkey work that he's supposed to do. So yeah,
Yes.
Arsenal are flying right now.
Yep. Arsenal are doing really well. So just looking a little deeper into the fixtures that Man City have, right? So they have to play they have to play Arsenal, they have to play Aston Villa as well, and then they have to play Tottenham. These are basically the top teams per se that they have to play. Of course, I think they're going to make a deep run in the Champions League as well. They're playing Copenhagen in the round of 16. I think they already beat them in the first leg, and they'll probably go deeper in the Champions League, and that I would consider to be a disadvantage, right? Because Champions League they'll face tougher opposition than what Liverpool would face in the Europa. That'll drain their resources more, and so on and so forth. So I think that is again something that goes against them. I think, but one good thing they probably have is the last 3 or 4 games. They are pretty straightforward, unlike Liverpool, right? So they are playing Wolves, Fulham, and West Ham, who
Yeah,
they
and they faced
should
Nottingham
beat.
Forest before that. So the
Yeah,
last four
Nottingham.
games are
Yeah,
like 12 points guaranteed.
exactly. So, if they can get through that tricky period and if they can balance out Champions League, which they should be able to, they have such a deep squad. Uh, they should be in a decent spot to at least take it deep, right? Should we move on to Arsenal's run in then?
Yeah, so for City, I think you're right. I think the last 4 games are gimmies. Like, I don't think they need to worry about that. It's the other teams that could, potentially hurt them, like Brighton, maybe. Maybe Crystal Palace, they have this kind of crazy record against Crystal Palace also, where they seem to be getting stuck against them. So it's interesting as to how things will work out for City. I mean, they're just a juggernaut. I mean, I don't know who can stop them, but hopefully we can do that next week.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about Arsenal's run in, right? Arsenal's the games that they have. They're of course playing Sheffield United next, right? That they should win easily. Then they have Brentford coming up, and then of course the Man City Arsenal game, which is going to be March 31st. Apart from that, they also have to play Aston Villa, Tottenham, Manchester United. Which are pretty tricky games, and they also have to play Chelsea, which
Yeah.
is which is
No, so
probably
you're laughing, right? But
yeah,
Chelsea have actually done all right against some of the big clubs.
right,
So they beat Spurs. They drew twice against City. They
yeah,
gave us a really tough fight the first time when we played at the start of the season, and then also in the
right,
League Cup final. So I
yeah.
wouldn't say Chelsea are completely out of it. I hope Chelsea can
Yeah, I
help
think
us.
Chelsea do relatively better against the top teams because I think we are better organized defensively.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, I would definitely think that that's a tricky tie, but Arsenal would be firm favorites in that. So overall, they have a few big games. The biggest, of course, being the Man City game that they have, and then they have their North
The
London derby,
derbies,
Tottenham,
yeah.
yeah, and then Manchester United. They obviously are also a couple more points off the top of the table, 2 points off the top of the table. So they have a bit of a deficit, not much to make up, but I think if they keep playing the way they are, because they've been decimating the teams, who have come up against them in the last 3 or 4 fixtures, I think they'll be,
Yeah. So
yeah,
6-0, 5-0, and
yeah,
4-1.
yep. So they'll definitely be taking it deep. There's no question about that. Right. I think, yeah.
So it'll also
Go
be
ahead.
interesting to see for Arsenal how they do in the Champions League because they are trailing to Porto after the first leg.
Yes. Yes.
And if they win, then obviously they could face a tougher opponent. And obviously that's a trophy they should want to win because they've never won
Yeah.
it before.
Yeah.
So maybe too many this thing like maybe Arteta will have to decide
Yeah,
what he prefers or what he is more like what he wants to concentrate on, because obviously
yeah.
the Premier League is also a big prize. So it'll be
That's
interesting to
very
see what
true.
they do.
Yep, that's very true. That's very true. The Premier League is definitely a big prize. That's it's an interesting call, but I like you said, I definitely think he needs to decide one or the other because I don't think the Arsenal squad is deep enough to compete on both fronts, take it to
Yeah.
the very end on both fronts. So I think he'll have to make some decisions about
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. So the
Yeah,
other thing about Arsenal is that they were involved in the title race last season,
yeah,
and that experience could help them in this one.
yeah.
Whereas they're not really known for the European pedigree anymore. Like when Arsene Wenger was there, they were obviously doing okay-ish. But
Yes.
yeah, maybe the Champions League is a step too far for them. But yeah, in the Premier League, if they continue this form, they'll be a real threat.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That is true. Let's see what happens, and let's see what Arteta prioritizes. We'll probably be able to tell in the game that they have against Porto. But I don't think they have a fixture congestion like you guys do in March. So that's something that's positive for them.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot of congested fixtures in March. Their March looks pretty light. April probably is going to be a little bit more congested for them. Let's see. That'll be interesting. Now, yeah, we kind of talked about the injuries, right? Liverpool had a lot of big players injured, but you have all of them returning, more or less, at least the critical ones returning, next week or so, especially Mohamed Salah. So I think that might give you guys a boost as well.
Yeah. So speaking about the injuries, so Mohamed Salah is a very strange one. He should be back next week. We're not sure about it, but the Egyptian FA have already named him in the squad for the friendlies. So I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, it's a friendly, just let him be, but we'll see about that. I think the bigger concern for us is the loss of Alison Becker.
Hmm.
Allison is obviously, I think, the best goalkeeper in the world. Now, Kelleher has done a very good job in the
Man.
past 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what the
Uh,
saves he pulled off against Chelsea, those some stunning saves, especially the one against Cole Palmer. I think
yeah.
he's a top keeper.
Yeah, so I think he's the best number two also in the Premier League. So
Yeah.
we fully expect him to move on at the end of the season to another club.
Hmm.
But yeah, Allison's distribution is obviously something we're going to miss.
Yeah.
Garrett is an excellent shot stopper, but it's so strange what Allison is injured. He's not injured his arm, he's not injured his shoulder, he's injured his hamstring in training.
Huh.
How
Interesting.
does a goalkeeper do that? Like, what?
I
And
mean,
it's a serious injury. So Klopp has said that it's not a season-ending injury, but you don't expect him to be back for a long time.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a big one. Now, the other two big injuries that I think could have a huge impact for us are Diego Jota and Curtis Jones.
Hmm.
So Jones should be available after the international break, but he does have a history of picking up knocks. Like the injury he picked up against Brentford was innocuous,
Hmm.
but it turned out to be something serious. Jota's is obviously more serious. And if he's back after March, it'll be great for us because he's like a completely different striker to what we have. So we have five different options up front, and Jota is like something totally different to a Salah, Nunez, or a Luis Diaz, or even a Gakpo.
Yep, yep,
So
yep,
yeah,
yep,
that's to be seen. So
yep.
yeah, so the good thing is players are coming back, and hopefully we don't pick up any further injuries.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be interesting for us
Yep.
also.
Moving on to the injuries for Man City, they don't really have anybody injured apart from Jack Grealish, but he's kind of being ousted from the team by Jeremy Doku anyways, so they don't really have any, top players injured. So they are probably, the top of the list in terms of the injury. So they have the least number of players injured. So they are doing good. Moving on to Arsenal, they do have a couple of players injured. They have Tomiyasu injured, Zinchenko injured, Thomas Partey obviously has been injured for a long time, and Hurrien Timber has been injured for a long time. So a couple of important, injuries, but they've managed pretty well without them. I don't know if you had anything to say about the injuries at City or Arsenal.
Yeah, so I think Arsenal have coped the best, but obviously I don't think any club has been affected by injuries as much as Liverpool have. City, I don't really think they need to worry about Jack Grealish coming back. I think Doku does a fine job down the left. Obviously, Grealish is a different kind of player. But City have enough firepower to deal without Grealish. And I think Arsenal will also do pretty well. Right now, they have the momentum. They're scoring goals for fun. So missing somebody like a Tomiyasu or a Zinchenko or even a Partey right now isn't a problem for them. It's to be seen if the teams pick up further injuries because we saw City not exactly struggle, but they weren't at their fluent best when they didn't have Kevin De Bruyne at the start of the season. If City's Rodri gets injured,
Yeah,
that's going to be huge for them also.
true,
And
true.
even for Arsenal, right? I mean, if heaven forbid Martin Odegaard gets injured or Declan Rice, you don't know where they could end up. So I think Liverpool have done the best out of it. Like
Oh
we've had
yeah.
so many injuries
Yep,
and we're
yep.
still getting those wins in. So
Yeah,
yeah, it will
yeah.
only become stronger now
Yep, yep,
with
yep.
more players coming in.
I think, yeah, there was some article that was talking about the fact that the fact that Liverpool are top of the table, in spite of the injuries that you've had, is truly remarkable, and it also would take the pressure off of Liverpool, right? Because in a sense, they've already overachieved. So going forward, they'll probably be able to play more freely instead of other teams being bogged down by the pressure of the title. They've already done much more than what was expected of them, given the devastating injuries you've had across your squad. So that was an interesting takeaway. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, so at the start of the season, I think our aim was to just get back into the top four. I mean, the season that we had previously was a horrible one. We basically replaced our entire midfield. Virgil, Van Dijk, there were questions about him not being at his best, but he's, silenced the critics. So yeah, I mean, this is a special season from Klopp. We've already won a trophy. We could possibly win two more. It'll be
Yeah,
great if we can round up the quadruple.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, and the kids are having fun. I mean, it's fun to watch Liverpool again, I guess, after
Yeah,
last season.
yeah. That's very true. That's very true. And then talking about Klopp, I think one of the things I wanted to talk about were the intangibles, so to speak. Right? We've talked about form, we've talked about injuries, we've talked about head-to-heads. I think one of the things that's left is the intangibles, which this last topic segues pretty well into. Klopp's last season, his swan song. That's obviously going to motivate your team a lot, right?
Yeah, so we touched upon this a while back as well. Uh, Anfield's going to be crazy next week when we play City because the fans know this could be possibly the last time Klopp faces Pep Guardiola, unless,
Mhm.
yeah. So I think this is the last time they're going to face up. I don't think there is a meeting in the FA. Oh, the FA Cup could be, yeah, the FA Cup could be a meeting for them. But anyway, it's going to be crazy. Klopp obviously gets the players to give their 100%, maybe 110%.
Mhm.
And even the kids who have come in, right? I mean, if we remember the League Cup final, none of them looked out of place. It's not like they were overawed or in awe of the Chelsea team or the occasion.
Yeah.
So Klopp's got that bandwagon behind him. The fans are totally behind him. Anything he touches turns to gold. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think it's just this Klopp energy that's pushing us through this season, and it'll only become better for us once all these players come back from injury.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think one of the things that Pochettino actually did pretty well before the League Cup final was kind of play on the psychology of the referees a little bit, because he came out and he said something along the lines of, the referees have to be fair and they should not get swept into this entire farewell kind of mindset for Klopp. And what ended up happening was, there were a lot of big calls that actually should have gone Liverpool's way that went Chelsea's way, including probably a red card to Caicedo. So I wonder whether Pep leading up to next week's game is going to do something similar, try and get into the heads of the referees, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so the Chelsea game, obviously, the goal against by Van Dijk should have stood. Whatever Endo did, I don't think
No,
he.
that I totally disagree. I mean
No,
that
so
that,
he
that
wasn't
goal.
getting the player. What are you
No,
saying? There
no.
was no.
Endo
He
Endo
just gave
Endo
up.
was the
No,
person
no.
who
So
got
the player that he
offside, right?
blocked off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the player he blocked off, he wasn't even running towards the ball.
Yeah,
Van
he
Dijk was already
was.
being
Anyways,
targeted.
that
No,
that's
no.
a
Anyway,
that's a separate
so
story. But
yeah,
we'll disagree with that. But I think that call was actually a good call. But Caicedo should have been sent off, or
yeah, yeah.
something, right? Because he basically broke Gravenberch's ankle.
Yeah, so
Let
there
yeah
was no VAR check also. Like there was no proper
yeah
VAR check. It's fine.
yeah
So this thing is gonna happen, I'm sure, till the end of the season. Now already players, rival fans are saying that the script has been made by VAR and that they're going to help Liverpool win the league this season because Darwin Núñez scored in the 98th minute and the 30th second
Hmm.
yesterday when there were 8 minutes of added on time and all
Hmm.
this nonsense. Uh, I believe the referees will make more mistakes and cost us a lot of decisions going forward because they're already under this pressure now, thanks to Pochettino, and I'm pretty sure other managers will do the same. Uh, we've already had, I think, four major incorrect decisions this season out of the 20 in the Premier League. So I think, well, that's 20% or 25% of all the calls have gone against us. So the Luis Diaz goal, a couple of red cards, etc.
Hmm.
And I'm sure more will happen. So I don't think any referee is going to get caught up and give any decisions in our way or in our favor.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually think it'll be the opposite effect, and we will get a lot of the decisions going against us.
Yep, yep.
So
Quite
yeah,
possibly, quite possibly. I think, yeah, Poch has done very, few things right, but that's one thing he's probably gone right this time around. Oh boy. I don't know. Can you think of any intangibles for or against Man City or Arsenal? Man City, they've been there before. I think that's a positive for them, right? They know, what it's like to, finish strong and win the league. So last year they had they also won the Champions League. So I think, I don't see any kind of things weighing them down.
yeah, no, I really don't see anything that could stop them. Uh, However, this season there have been times where they seem to uh, play a little too much. Even today in the Manchester derby,
Mhm.
right? They were trying to be too intricate instead of just taking a shot on from outside the box or something like that. Maybe that could hurt them trying to score that perfect goal that Arsenal used to do a while
Yeah,
back. And even the likes of Jeremy Doku, right? I mean, although we said that he's better than Grealish in this position, he doesn't seem to be in the same vein of form as he was in the start of the season.
yeah,
Uh, so maybe those small minus. I mean, I'm just trying to nitpick because I really can't see where City can go down the or where they could be affected. Obviously, they want to do the repeat of last season and win the Champions League and the Premier League.
yeah,
So that will be something. I don't think any club has ever done that.
yeah. I
Defend the
don't think
Champions League
so.
and win the
Yeah,
league in the
no,
same year.
no, no, don't think so.
So that could be something they want to do. Pep wants to create history.
Mhm.
Maybe that could lead to some issues because Pep has a habit of overthinking and overcomplicating Champions League
True,
games.
true.
So let's see. And as far as Arsenal goes, yeah. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, yeah, I just wanted to kind of add to the fact that, how, the fact that Man City have done this before and they've been here before and they know how to finish strong, kind of also shows up in some of the simulations. So Opta is, a company that's known for their database simulations, and, they have predicted that, Man City are the favorites to win the title. So Man City are 65% favorites to win the title, Liverpool at 25, and Arsenal at 10. Even though Man City have the toughest run in, so that kind of goes to show, historically the fact that they've won the championship so many times, they have an established team, seems to be favoring them. Yeah, go
And the
ahead.
other thing is obviously, yeah, they finished strong. Manchester City has a
Yes.
history of finishing the
Yep.
second half of the season incredibly well.
Yep. Yep.
So I mean, even in the games that we see them being maybe tested, I think the
Mhm.
best you can expect is a draw. I don't think they'll lose a game until the end of the season, unless they have a major injury crisis, like Haaland, De Bruyne, and Rodri. All three are out. Then maybe
Right.
they could lose a game or two. But yeah. And
Right.
as far as Arsenal goes, I think the experience that I spoke about from last season, where they were part of the chase, they
Yeah.
led the table for I think 240 nights or something, and then
Mhm.
they just let it slip. I think that would have helped. That will help them this season. I think Arteta knows that he has to keep his team going strong, and he's done that. I think the last 2 3 weeks has shown that Manchester that Arsenal can actually do well, and they can fix the issues that they have. But even their fixtures, right? It is to be seen what they do because a lot of the fixtures are away from home. They're playing Brighton away from home, Wolves away from home, Man City away from home, Spurs and Man United. That could play a major role.
Yeah.
Like mentally, how do they deal with it?
And that's a
And if
good
they get,
point, Adim, because
yeah,
they've been better at home. Arsenal have been better at home than away this season. And yeah, that's a good point.
yeah. So and again, they're playing against Chelsea, right? It's a derby. Anything can happen. Forget about forget about the performances of Chelsea against the smaller teams. I'm just saying that anything
Uh,
could happen.
Yeah.
Maybe Chelsea is
Kingmaker.
the kingmaker. Who
Yeah,
knows?
like we did for Leicester City by drawing against Spurs all those years
Because
back.
yeah. So you never know.
Yep.
And
So
I
I
mean,
think end of the day, though, yeah, they probably are the least favorites, right?
uh, yeah, I think the third favorites. I think Liverpool are second favorites according to
Mhm.
the bookies and basically all the pundits. And City obviously have to be number one. Uh, but yeah, I mean, the head says City, but the heart says Liverpool. So let's see.
But one thing though is like if you look at the goal difference, right? I think Liverpool is ahead. Even Arsenal probably is ahead of City,
I
right?
think, yeah. Arsenal are ahead of City, I believe. Just one second.
So if it gets to that stage where multiple teams are at the same points, I think you guys probably are at an advantage.
Yeah, I think we're so again the goals will come for us now once that Salah returns and
Yep,
Nunes is back and Szoboszlai, Endo, etc. Our
yep,
defense has been actually very good, and as you said, our keeper has been crazy good. Kelleher.
yep.
Even yesterday against this thing, he made an astonishing save, at least a
Mhm.
couple of astonishing saves. So, yeah, I mean, the way the three teams are going, it could actually come down to goal difference.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it'll be interesting if that is the case at the end of the season.
Let's see what happens. Okay, prediction time. I think we're getting to the end of the podcast. So I think you already did your prediction, but let's do it like formally. So who do you think will finish first, second, and third?
So I want obviously Liverpool to finish first. I think
Hmm.
City will finish second and Arsenal third. I was just checking something interesting.
Hmm.
Aston Villa could actually be the kingmakers in the Premier League because I think they play all the three clubs in the last round of
Yes,
fixtures.
yes, yes. Aston Villa play
So
all the three clubs.
yeah, that could be big.
Yeah,
Uh, they've given trouble to almost every club out there. So,
yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah,
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 Unai
yeah,
Emery for the win.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think Liverpool, obviously, I want Liverpool to win it. I hope City can slow down. So,
Mhm.
Liverpool, City, and then uh, Arsenal.
Yeah, I think that's pretty pretty much what I was thinking as well. I definitely don't want City to win again. I'd rather have Liverpool or even Arsenal to win. And looking at the opposition and the fixtures and all of that, and the fact that City also probably will have to go deep in the Champions League, I would say Liverpool should be able to win it. Liverpool should be able to give Jurgen Klopp his fairy tale farewell, and then probably it's going to be pretty close between City and Arsenal. Actually, to be honest with you, I think that Man City Arsenal game is going to be very interesting as well because
Yeah.
Arsenal actually beat Man City in the first fixture at home. I think they're going to be up for it, especially defensively. Going to the Etihad. So I think you guys, the fact that you only have to play City, you don't have to play Arsenal, is also an
Mm.
advantage. So for me, it's Liverpool, City, Arsenal. Okay, so
So,
let's see what happens.
yeah, let's see. It'll be cool.
Okay, perfect. So with that, we can bring this podcast to an end. Please let us know in your comments who you think is going to win the Premier League this time, and of course, like, share, and subscribe, and keep giving us your feedback. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.